Let me start this off by asking you a hard question. Do you actually know what playing small is costing you? Because it's not just about the money that you're leaving on the table, though that is a big part of it, obviously, but it's also the clients who never find you because you're being too quiet or humble. It's also the opportunities that pass you by because you don't raise your hand. And then the influence that you say that you want, but can't claim because you are hiding. And before you think to yourself, this isn't me, I'm proud of what I do. I own my brilliance. I'm not afraid of being seen. What you need to understand is most of us do not even realize that we are blocking ourselves. So you might have done work on your visibility before. You might have gotten a bit more comfortable being seen and being a bit more audacious, but as you grow, there's new levels to this. There's new levels of acceptance. There's new levels of visibility. So this is something that I have found I have to do consistently because being seen and heard by, let's say, 5 or 10,000 people is very different than being seen and heard by 50,000 or 100,000, or for some of you and some of us, eventually 1 million, or maybe even right now 1 million, depending on how your content is performing. So what you need to understand is this is an ongoing process and practice that we get to work on as women of influence and women who are here to play a bigger game and serve people. But in order to serve, we must be seen. So there are fears that keep us invisible, right? There's the fear of judgment, the fear of rejection, the fear of failure, even fear of success. And these fears end up kind of feeling normal after a while, right? And that's not a bad thing, except when they feel normal in the sense that they seep into your business decisions and your overall energy every single day. So in today's episode, I am breaking down the real price of playing small and the subconscious visibility blocks that keep you stuck there. Plus, we're going to get into how you can break free from the chains of these blocks and fears. So by the end of this conversation, you are going to see why staying hidden is actually the riskiest business move that you can make, and why now is the moment to step deeper into visibility and audacity. Let's go. Welcome to All In with Allie, the podcast for online business owners and entrepreneurs who are ready to create the life and business of their dreams. I'm so happy you're here. First and foremost, I apologize. I have been a little MIA. There were a couple of weeks there where I'm just going to be honest with you. I had nothing of value to give to you at all. I'm sure I could have pulled something out of my hat, but I've learned that there are the times where I'm tired, I'm cranky, but I have something that I want to share. So I've learned to push past the feeling of like not feeling like showing up and pushing past that and serving you the message anyway. That's very important that we have that discernment and that we have that level of discipline in our businesses. But then I've also learned that there are times where I either don't feel like showing up, or maybe even I do feel like showing up, but I genuinely just don't have anything of value to give. Well, let me back up. If I feel like showing up, then there's something there for sure. But in this case, it was just one of those times I just didn't have it in me. And I've shared this before. I just refuse to get in front of a mic or behind a mic, in front of a camera, and chat GPT something that didn't even come from me, or say a bunch of things and ramble for the sake of putting out a new episode. I value your time more than that. I value my time more than that. And I'm just the type of person where I would rather a creator that I like show up in the right energy and when they're excited to be there, or they have something of value to say, versus, I won't say faking it, because sometimes you got to fake it sometimes, but versus showing up to hit a number, So you're welcome. Because today I'm back and I'm really excited about the month of October. Very excited about a few of the things that we have going on. And then, of course, the conversation that we're going to be having today. So, real quick, one thing that I did last month that I'm thrilled about, and I'm not going to talk about this long because you're going to be hearing an ad for it in a minute, but it does have to do with this conversation. But as some of you might already know, I have had a membership called All In the Membership, and it's fantastic. I'm really proud of it. It's one of the few offers that I'm keeping in my business ever since I made the decision to severely and drastically simplify my offers. That's how much I believe in it. And since I decided to keep it, I thought that I actually, now I have the time and the energy and the space to give it a little bit of a zhuzh and update it and upgrade it into something that is of the highest value for you. So we've done that, and you'll hear all about it. And I won't get into it now because I know how y'all feel about this. I'm gonna get to the good stuff, but I will say this: if you have been considering thinking about joining by the way, it's called the All In Experience now. I rebranded it. It's not the membership, it's the All In Experience. And the reason why is because it's more of like a mastermind, but at membership level pricing. Anyway, if you've been considering, I would highly encourage you, when you hear this ad here in a minute, don't skip through it, because there may or may not be a special podcast promo coupon code for a very limited time. I'm just throwing that out there. Only the podcast is getting it. Okay. But the reason why I bring that up is because one of the new things that we're doing in the All In Experience is we are doing monthly themes. I've partnered with a friend of mine. She does subliminals and energetics. And every single month, she is making the members these day and nighttime subliminals to listen to while they work or while they fall asleep, to reframe and reprogram their subconscious for success. But each month we have these new themes. So that's what the subliminals will be for that month. So for example, in September, the theme was wealth identity. So the subliminals that we did and the extra, I taught a training around this specifically for the experience members. So it was all around your wealth identity. And this month, as I record this, it is October 2025. And the theme for this month is visibility and audacity. So what I'm going to be doing for the time being, we're going to test this out in the podcast, is each month I'm going to stick to the themes here too, unless there's like a random episode idea that I just have to throw out there. So this month I have, for the rest of the month, everything is going to be focused on increasing your visibility, making you feel more safe, to be even more audacious, and how that is going to greatly impact your business, your money, and just you overall as a person, and your beautiful clients who will finally be able to see you and find you and hear you because you feel safe being seen, found, and heard. Okay? Okay, so this episode that you're tuning into now obviously is all about the price of playing small and the visibility blocks holding us back, and how to free ourselves from these chains that many of us have experienced and will continue to experience until we do this work. So before we dive into that, first, I want to talk about, what does playing small look like and what does playing big look like, right? Because it's obviously a very vague term, and I use it a lot. Like, are you playing big? Are you playing small? But like, what actually does that mean? So actually, let's talk about what playing big looks like, because then you can kind of measure yourself against what I think and what I have experienced playing, quote, big to actually look like. So to me, playing big looks like a few different things, right? It looks like, in our world, if you have an online business or a business in general, it looks like, number one, planting your flag, so to speak, right? And what I mean by that is you have a skill, you have a point of view, you have a gift, you have a genius that you are monetizing via your business. Have you planted your proverbial flag to say, this is what I do, this is what I'm here for, this is what I'm good at, and if you want this outcome, I'm the one to serve you in it. That's what planting your flag looks like. So what this looks like in terms of our business is like, when I go to your Instagram, when I see your content, when I see you on your stories, when you talk about your business, are you owning it? Are you owning yourself as and branding yourself and positioning yourself as one of the best in your space regarding what it is that you do? So to me, that's playing big. This also looks like, like I said, being bold about your genius. This doesn't mean that you are the only one who might teach what you teach or create offers around the offers that you provide. This doesn't mean you don't have competition, but it's simply saying, hey, if you vibe with me, if you like the things that I put out, and you need support with this thing that I offer support around, you are very safe in my hands. I will take great care of you, right? Like, there's no doubt in my mind, if somebody were to sign up for a mastermind of mine, the all-in experience, or anything that I put out, they are going to walk away getting something out of it, like getting something major out of it. As long as they meet me halfway, I'm going to show up and do my part. I'm going to do a good job. If you meet me halfway and you dance with me, we're going to have a good time. Like, no doubt about it. I have zero fear saying that. I'm not worried about, well, what if this person comes in and they act this way? No, I mean, will there be some experiences where like somebody might come in and they just don't like me, or they don't like the way I teach or the style? Sure. But that's a rare experience. That's going to happen to everybody. It's a rare occurrence. I have faith and I have confidence in my knowledge around helping women monetize their genius really well, and the offers that I create and the way that I facilitate my services. So you hear me as I speak about this. I'm not hiding from that. I'm not playing coy. I'm not making a million different caveats of like, yeah, I'm good, but a lot of people are good. And, I'm not the best. I haven't been doing it the longest. Yeah, I'm sure there are other people out there, and maybe you can't afford what I do, or maybe, no, we're cutting through the bullshit. If you need support monetizing your genius, if you want to make more money in your online business, I'm the girl. I'm the one. Period. I'm the one. That is boldness about my genius. That's what playing big looks like. Playing big also looks like owning your point of view, owning your uniqueness when it comes to your brand and how you show up and how you move, right? So like all of us, we're like a thumbprint, every single one of us, we're so different in so many different ways. And this is why I always say, like, to me, I don't care about saturation in markets. I could give two shits, because at the end of the day, nobody's me and nobody's you. So as long as we are not blocking ourselves from being seen and heard, as long as we are owning what it is that we do, there will always be people that want to work with us because they vibe with us and they vibe with our energy. And vice versa. There are going to be people that don't vibe with us and our energy. So then they'll go work with our competition. That's great too. But what I have found is when you fully embrace your quirks, your weirdness, this is your authenticity. This is how you actually are. And you stop trying to contort yourself to be like somebody else. And you finally step out of this box that maybe you thought you had to be in to be successful, or you thought you had to be in to be more easily digestible. When you finally just let your freak flag fly, like the all of who you are, that is the epitome of playing big, because now people get it. Finally, they can hear you and they can make a true decision. Am I in or am I out? And then playing bigger also looks like you're matching your moves with the results that you want to get, right? So if you want bigger results, you have to play a bigger game. There is a ripple effect to our moves, right? So if you want, let's say, you've only marketed to your warm audience and you've kind of plateaued because there's a certain level that you're hitting based on your capacity and based on, the amount of input that you want to put out via your offers, but you're ready to earn more money. Okay, well then it's time to play with different ways of putting yourself out there. So me, for example, this is something that I've been experiencing. I've in the best way possible tapped a lot of my warm audience. A lot of my audience members are already buying from me. They're already in my world and they keep coming back again and again. And I'm looking to play and serve more people. So you can do that in a couple ways, right? Like you can create really good content and maybe go viral and reach a colder audience that way. Or you can pay to play, right? So I've been running ads as a way to play a bigger game. You also can do this by doing certain collaborations or starting a podcast or making certain investments is also playing a bigger game, right? Like there was a time in my business where I knew that I needed to understand what it looked like to play a bigger game. And I didn't, because nobody in my sphere was doing that. So I got into Melanie's mastermind and I did Unity for 2 years. That was a huge way for me to match my money moves with the amount of money and the amount of response and receiving that I was ready to call forward. So what does that look like for you? Is there something that you know that you are ready to invest in, that you want to invest in, but you're scared for whatever reason? So playing big looks like, all of those things, not all at once necessarily, but it looks like fully owning yourself, fully owning your authenticity, and making sure that your moves are a match for the level of results that you are ready to receive. Those are just some examples. So, like I said, the bigger the move, the bigger the energetic response. So I want you to picture when you throw a little pebble into the water, there's going to be a small ripple. When you throw a big boulder into the water, there's a bigger, longer lasting ripple. So no matter what the move is, there's going to be a response and a ripple. But again, the bigger the move, the bigger the ripple. So if you're making these moves and you keep kind of getting these, little tiny responses, well, then I would look at, okay, what are bigger moves that I can make? What moves maybe do I want to make, but I'm scared of? That would be something really, really powerful to look at. There is gold there for you to mine, no doubt about it. And then playing small is obviously the opposite of all of that, right? Because we don't allow ourselves to make those moves. We don't allow ourselves to own our genius, to plant our flag, to make bigger moves and all the things that I'm talking about, because the underlying fears of being seen and being too much, which we're about to get into. So that's what playing big and small looks like. Now, what are the real costs to playing small. And I want you to hear this. This is really, really important because it's very easy to kind of get comfortable with the status quo. It's really easy to just kind of lie down and accept and be like, well, I'm comfortable here. Or, well, yeah, I might want more, but at least I'm not, I don't know, freaking out my nervous system for putting myself out there. And it's easy to become complacent with a level of game and a level of results and a level of authority that's not a match for what you really want. Like if you're good, if you're genuinely content, then amazing. Honor that. Own that. Embrace that. Contentness is different than complacency. So if you're content, I'm happy for you. But the second that you are like, wait, this has been great. I'm grateful for this and I'm ready for more. Okay, amazing. So here are the costs of playing small because I want to scare the shit out of you right now. I want you to stop playing small. Okay, so I'm going to freak you out real quick. Here are the real costs. Here's what's really happening when you refuse to own the bigness of who you were put on this planet to be. And I think that that's it. I really believe that. I don't believe any of us listening to this podcast were meant to, quote, play small. I think there are people, of course, on the planet who are made to do a lot of different things. There are people on the planet who want to have a more traditional, conventional life, business. They don't want to be seen. They're not meant for they're not made for the lights, right? They're here to like do life their way. So this isn't for everybody, but if you're listening to this podcast, if you have a business, you have to be seen in your business or you're going to go out of business, right? So again, I believe if you're listening to this, you were not put here. Like God did not make you to succumb to your fears of being seen and to just lie down and accept a business and a life and results that are being driven by fear. So, I've talked in past episodes, like when you're ready to make an up level, you want to look at the monsters under the bed, right? You want to look at the worst case scenarios. What are you so afraid of? And these are kind of like the worst case scenarios, the monsters, so to speak, of playing small. So first, of course, we have the financial cost. So when you play small and when you're not fully comfortable being visible, seen, heard, found, all the things, which is very important when you have an online business, when you are not owning who you are, what you do, what you're here to do, and who you're here to serve, well, obviously, the result of that is going to be fewer leads, thus less sales, thus less income, stagnant income, plateaued. Like there's the financial cost is very clear there. Most of us have businesses that are in a market that is pretty saturated. Like I'm in the business coaching space. I say all the time, when you look at just business coaching in general, there's thousands of us, thousands of business coaches. So if I'm not owning it and I'm kind of flying underneath the radar, right? Like there's the radar and I don't want to be seen. If you're watching the YouTube video, I'm like hiding under this thing because I'm scared to be seen. Well, there are a lot of other people. There's a lot of my competition who have done this work, unfortunately. Damn it. Who are not afraid to be seen. So they're going to be louder than me. They're going to be more proud than me. They're not afraid to be seen. So the people who might be looking for somebody like me are instead going to find my competition and they're going to go with them. And that's a damn shame because they're not going to get as good of an experience. I'm kidding. Kind of. Right? So like, obviously the financial cost of this is really, really big. There's also the opportunity cost. When you are playing smaller and you're afraid of being seen and all the things, you're going to miss opportunities for collaboration, for features, for invites. You're just going to, if you're flying under the radar, well, you're not going to be remembered in a lot of rooms. So, something that I haven't talked about on here yet that I'm really excited about is I am creating my own charity event at the end of the year. Me and my husband support this charity of a good friend of my husband's. And I decided like I wanted to give back in some way. And then I realized, wait, I have incredible contacts in this space. I have incredible women who are influential, who are brilliant, who have incredible audiences that bring a ton of value to the table. Instead of trying to just give on my own, what if I multiplied my efforts by linking arms with other women in the online space so that we can do this together? So what I did was I got out my pen and paper and I thought to myself, who would I want to partner with? Who would be a good fit for this experience? And everybody that I thought of, I made a list. And guess what? These are women who own their genius, right? These are women who plant their flags. These are women who are bold, who are audacious, who are not afraid to be seen. And I know that about them because when I thought to myself, who are good women to partner with this, these women came to my mind first. So if you're not getting invited to things, it's not necessarily that people don't like you. It's not necessarily that maybe they didn't want to not invite you. It might be because you're flying underneath their radar. They can't see you. They can't hear you. Therefore, you're not coming front of mind when they have an opportunity that you might be an amazing fit for. So playing small is costing you opportunities. It's also costing you influence because your message isn't reaching people who need it. Again, there are other people who have done this work who may be as good of you, who may be as good as you, or maybe not. That's another thing that freaks me out. When I realized, okay, if you have their attention, you can have their sale, which I've said since day one. If you have their attention, you can have their sale. So first we got to get their attention. And when I realized, holy shit, just because somebody else is getting attention does not mean that they are more talented. It does not mean that they're a good person. It does not mean that their product is better. It doesn't mean anything about their work. It just means they're really good at getting attention. It means they're not afraid of being seen. It means that they're audacious about whatever they're bringing, but it says nothing about the quality of the work that they put out. And that freaked me out a little bit because it was like, well, if you're meant to work with my competition, then fine, so be it, right? Like I have no energetic fear around that. I believe there's plenty of pieces of the pie to go around. So I have zero scarcity when it comes to you working with a colleague of mine or competition or whatever, because there's plenty of people to go around. And if you vibe with her more than you vibe with me, so be it. That's perfect. That's how it's meant to happen. I have peace with that. But what freaks me out is by me not getting your attention well enough, you might instead go to my competition who maybe has a bigger audience, who maybe is louder, prouder, bolder, whatever, and not getting the support you need. Again, because just because they're louder or more audacious does not mean anything about their work. So I was like, wait, being seen and heard and owning my greatness is as much for my clients as it is about me and my business. Like, yes, this supports my business, but it supports my clients because if I'm loud and I plant my flag and you find me, I know and I'm confident you're going to get a good experience. I know I'm going to take care of you. I know you're going to get the thing that I'm telling you you're going to get. I can't say that about my competition. Okay? So if you're not playing bigger and allowing yourself to be seen and owning it, well, then your message is going to be heard by somebody else. You're not going to get their attention. Somebody else will, and they're going to get their sale. And we don't know how that's going to go for your precious clients. Okay. So let me see. Was there another one here? I'm looking at me notes. Yeah. Okay. We're going to move on. So that's the cost. Now let's get to these blocks. Okay. So if you're like, okay, I think there's a new level for me to tap into here, or I need to get to level 1 of visibility, and clearly that's not happening. So what's the problem? Here's where we're going to get into it. Let's get into these visibility blocks that you may or may not be aware of, that may or may not be severely holding you back. So these are the reasons why you might be hiding, consciously or subconsciously. And then I'm going to give you a reframe for each. Because of course, I'm not just going to tell you what's fucking you. I'm going to tell you how to unfuck yourself. Sorry, that was very crude. Anyway, first thing, the first visibility block is your fear around judgment. Oof. And this is so big for so many people. Even some of the most bold people I know still walk with a little bit of this. And actually, I want to say this up front. Let me say this up front. I'm about to give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 visibility blocks. I want to be clear. You can still have these fears. These are fears, 5 very common fears. You can still have this fear. You can still be working on this fear while simultaneously showing up and owning who the hell you are. So I don't want you to think that until this fear is completely slayed and dead, that it's going to continue to affect you and that you can't move forward in your life. The big thing about these is an awareness of it, so that whenever you go to make a move, whenever you go to speak and you go to be seen, the moment that like, that fear kind of bubbles up, that fear of what if, and what if this, and what if that you're able to recognize it, and then you can kind of like quickly reframe and keep it moving. So the fears are never going to go away, ever. New level, new devil, they're always going to be there in different capacities. Maybe not all of them, but the fear will still be there. So the worst thing that you can do, which unfortunately a lot of people do, is say to themselves, when I'm not scared anymore, then I'll make that investment. Then I'll post that thing. Then I'll make that offer. Then I'll pitch myself to that collaboration or that da-da-da-da-da-da. When I don't feel the fear, then I will make the move. Baby, we're going to be here all day. It's going to be a lot longer than that. All year, your whole life. The fear's not going anywhere. So what we want to do is we want to be aware of it and normalize it, because these things are normal. Okay. So fear of judgment, this is very common. And back to what I was saying, I know a lot of big people in the industry, a lot of people with incredible audiences, incredible influence, making great money and have great success in what it is that they do, and still work with the fear of judgment. And all of these I'm about to share with you. If you've been waiting for a sign to go all in on your business, this is it. And I have a juicy coupon code for all in listeners only, so make sure you don't miss it. The newly rebranded and upgraded All In experience isn't just another coaching program. It is the last coaching container you will ever need to grow your business your way to the level you want. Here is what's inside. You will get 4 live coaching calls every single month, where you get unlimited time to ask your questions and get coached on exactly what you need. You get 4 private one-on-one calls that you can use anytime throughout the year for deep, personalized, custom support. You get instant access to every single program I've ever created, new and old, so that you have a full library of trainings at your fingertips the second you join. And you also will receive monthly subconscious reprogramming to rewire your beliefs and keep you aligned with wealth, success, and visibility that you are calling in. This is not a band-aid. This is not a quick fix. This is the container that gives you everything you need to create undeniable traction, build consistent momentum, and scale your business your way. So if you are ready to stop searching for the next thing and finally go all in, this is your moment. Click the link in the show notes to learn more about the All-In experience. And for a limited time, you can use code ALLIN with Allie to join and save a whopping 25% off for a full year. I can't wait to see you on the inside and on the next call with us. If you have any questions, you can DM me on Instagram. So the fear of judgment, what will they think? What will they think? If I say this thing, if I do this thing, if I post that, if I charge that, if I do this, if I talk with her, if I if I blah, 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 what will they think? That's all it is. This could be your mama. This could be your mother-in-law. This could be your friends from high school. This could be your enemies from high school. This could be trolls on the internet. This could be an old employer. This could be a crush. This could be your own damn partner. These people often are in our own homes sometimes. But is this fear of, if I rise and I allow myself to be fully me and own that, what will insert this person or group of people or everybody think? And the reframe here is they're going to think something anyway. They are going to judge you anyway. So there's a million different ways that we can look at this. And a lot of people will say, like, they're not even thinking of you, right? Like, you are so worried of these people thinking of you. They're not even thinking of you, which is true sometimes, but then sometimes they are. People are judgy, right? And what I have learned is, you know, that quote, and I'm going to butcher it, but the saying is like, the caged bird hates the bird that's free, right? There are people that are imprisoned by their own fear, right? We're all playing this game, whether you have a business or not. This affects everybody at every level. So unfortunately, there are a lot of people that are imprisoned by their own fear. So when they see another human doing the thing that they won't allow themselves to do, there's going to be some sort of thought process that happens. And unfortunately, a lot of that times is judgment, and sometimes it's not. So I'm going to really throw you for a loop here in just a second. I've had experiences where initially people judged me, and I heard that like they kind of made snarky comments or whatever, but I continued to do what I do. And I continued to grow. And a couple of years later, these people were coming to me to help them set themselves free, right? So what I've learned to do is to not judge the judger. Don't fear the judgment and don't judge the judger, because everybody's on their own timeline. Everybody's on their own path. We don't really know why they're judging you. And quite frankly, it's none of your business. And even more importantly, it's a waste of your fucking time. They're going to judge you either way. So they're going to judge you whether you are still in your own cage, playing small, or like barely dipping your toe out because you look kind of silly. You don't look silly, but like, you know, it's like maybe you're speaking a big game, but you continue to throw these little pebbles. There's going to be judgment around that. There's going to be judgment if you do what everybody else does. Somebody might look at you and be like, man, you have so much more potential than that. They're going to judge you for that. And then they're also going to judge you if you decide to be all of who you are and go out there and do the thing that you came here to do and that you say that you want to do and that you said you were going to do. They're going to judge you for that. Either way, you're going to get judged. We don't know why. We don't know the reasoning behind it, and it's none of our fucking business. So the faster that you can accept it, not necessarily fear it, just know that it's part of life, the faster that you can be seen. I want you to imagine, okay, so like, I'm not a Swiftie. I think we've made that clear. I'm just not a fan of the music, okay? But I admire her as a human and as an artist, and as a woman of extreme influence, I think we can all agree that Taylor Swift is one of the most seen and influential women of our time, right? We can all agree that. You would be hard pressed to find somebody who doesn't know who Taylor Swift is in most cases. I think we can all also agree that she is incredibly successful. And for the most part, what she's doing is very positive. And the name and the brand and all of that, it's positive. It's a good thing, right? She's created a lot of goodness for herself. And I also think we can agree that on her way to who she is today, she faced a lot of judgment. There were a lot of people, there's still a lot of people who don't like her, they don't like what she stands for. They don't believe in what she's doing. They think she's a bad person. They think she should do something else differently. Now, I want you to ask yourself how often you think she thinks of those people. Probably not much. I'm not saying she doesn't think of them at all. I think she's a very intentional, thoughtful woman, actually. So she probably does think about it. She's an empathetic person. But I know for a fact, just based on how big her sphere of influence is, it was probably a long time ago that she finally had to put down her give a damn for what anybody thinks about what it is that she's doing. Otherwise, she would not be Taylor Swift. If you want to be Taylor Swift, you cannot hold any blocks around visibility. You can't. You just can't care. It's not that you don't care, but you can't care. You can't afford to care. You don't have the time. You don't have the energy. You have bigger things to focus on. You have people out there who are obsessed with you, who love you, who want to buy your stuff and who want to work with you. You cannot afford to look to the right at the people who are holding pitchforks, hoping that you fail. Same is true for us. Smaller scale for some of us, for now. Who knows? But I want you to think of it like that. At some point, you just can't care anymore. It's not a personal thing. It's not that you're a bad person. It's that you've got too many other things to focus on. You're booked, you're busy, and you are focused. If you are focused, you're not paying attention to the judgment as much or the other fears. You're focused on the people who get it, even if it's just one other person, even if it's just 10. I came across this video. It was so cool, and it was such a reminder. It was this video of Lainey Wilson, and she was on stage. She was working the crowd, and she zeroes in on somebody. She was like, "Oh my gosh, you're here." And she zeroes in on this woman who was in the crowd. And she said, "Y'all, this woman has been with me since day one." And she said, "Do you remember when I was doing that concert at the casino and there was like nobody there?" She was like, "Y'all, she was there." And it gave me chills because, first of all, Lainey Wilson, I mean, huge star, right? She's selling out arenas. She's made it. But there was a time where nobody was showing up to her stuff, but she showed up for the very few who did. Okay? Right? There were a few people, the day ones who got it, the early adopters. Every single one of you listening have early adopters who are waiting for your next thing, who are waiting for your next offer, who are waiting for your podcast, who are waiting for your post, for whatever it is, your day ones. But because there's not 1,000 of them or 10 or 1,000,000, you are instead focusing on the people who don't get it and the judgers and the people who have rejected you. So if you have the desire to be bigger, to be seen by more, to be followed by more, to be a bigger influence, it requires you to align your focus on what it is that you're doing, and the people who get it care about what they think, care about their perspective. Don't care about the ones who are still caged or who simply prefer a different flavor. Okay, we kind of went on a tangent there, but it was important. All right, so the next one, fear of rejection. This is another thing that holds a lot of people back, right? By equating no's with personal failure. She doesn't like me. She didn't buy from me. This launch didn't go well, so I suck. And it's like, no, that's not how that equation works. The math is not mathing. We need a thicker skin. If you are going to have an online business, if you're going to have a business in general, if you're going to have an online brand, if you are daring to be seen by anybody outside of your sphere, we have to have a thicker skin. There are going to be people who reject you. When you allow yourself to show up as your signature flavor on the internet, there are going to be people who see you and say, yum, I love that flavor. I want more. And then there are going to be people who say, yuck, I hope you die. Like it's a stark contrast. Okay. And it's concerning sometimes how stark the contrast is, how kind and loving some people can be. And then other people are like, you're the worst. And it's weird, right? The internet's a weird, crazy, odd, scary place, but get used to it. Get used to rejection. If you're going to have a business, rejection is part of it, right? So you know how people say like, rejection is your protection. It's like, okay, that's kind of true. Okay. Sometimes you also just fail. Sometimes you're just also not made for somebody. And I guess that's like technically protection. Okay. But I think a better way to think about this is rejection is redirection towards your ideal clients. That's it. Rejection is making space for somebody more aligned to come in and hold that space. So we actually want to be rejected. There was a person, and no shade, but there's this person who she was inquiring about a lot of my stuff and took up a lot of time. And, she seemed pretty serious about wanting to work with me. And I gave her a lot of that time because I actually thought we'd be a really good fit for each other. And after quite a few conversations, if I'm being honest with you, because I thought for sure we were moving forward. So I was like, great. She ended up rejecting me, right? Essentially, right? She said no, she rejected me. And initially I was like, okay, well, it's a lot of time I'm not going to get back. That's weird. I thought for sure she was going to move forward and she didn't. Okay. And then fast forward a few months and she had moved forward with somebody else and she was like tearing this person apart publicly, like going in, not just being vocal about a bad experience, which is fine, but I'm talking like it was beyond that. It was kind of like Karen vibes, right? And not in a understandable way. Like it was, and I saw it and I was like, whoa, that's interesting. That was clearly protection, like that was okay. Like, and by the way, I knew the person that she was tearing down, and I know quite a few people who had worked with the other person had an incredible experience. So maybe her feelings are valid regardless. Maybe she did have a bad situation. I don't know. But the way that she was kind of like really going in publicly on this person, it spoke to a deeper issue independent of that situation. If you're picking up what I'm throwing down, So I was like, well, kind of dodged a bullet there. Okay. So we got to remember that. We have to remember that God has aerial view of the situation. We can only see what we can see. We can't see the forest for the trees. We just see the trees around us and we think, oh, this tree is meant to be in our forest. And God's like, this tree's about to be caught on fire. Get it out of here, you know? So there's got to be a trust to it. Okay, moving on. Fear of failure, right? This is a huge one. And a lot of people, the thought process is a flawed one. The thought process is, if I don't start this thing, if I don't launch that podcast, if I don't launch that offer, if I don't plant my flag, if I don't be bold about who I am and what it is that I do, then I can't fail. Then I can't be rejected. Then I can't look like an idiot. Then I can't be judged. Da, 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 da. And it's all false. It's all bullshit. Because at the end of the day, if we were really to get down to it, and I asked you, what's the bigger failure? You taking a risk and putting that thing out there and it not being received in the way that you thought it would, or never putting it out at all. If you have half a brain cell, you would understand the real failure is not doing the thing at all. Duh. You'll always wonder what if. What's worse than the question of what if? Nothing's worse than that. I would much rather know, well, I did that thing and it was awful, but at least I know. I would much rather just know. Like, I want to know, is the stove hot? Ow, yes, the stove is hot. Okay, we're going to try that differently next time. But I know the stove's hot, right? So failure, the way that I want you to reframe failure is data, not identity. It's data. It's not who you are. It's the way that you did it. It's the time that you did it. It's the way that you did it. It's, there's a million different factors. Like, if we're looking at launching, there are 100 factors that will go into a successful or a failed launch. The timing of it, the energy of it, everything. I'm not going to get into it. This is not a launch conversation. So it literally doesn't make sense to say that launch failed, so I'm a failure. That is apples and oranges. That's silly. Doesn't make sense. Instead, you had a failed launch, and that says nothing about you. You just had a failed launch. Right? Like, I've had several failed relationships. What does that say about me? I have standards. I love myself now. That's what that says about me. It doesn't say I'm a failure because I had failed relationships. It says I'm smarter than I look. Okay? That's all. So failure is data, not identity. Another fear that a lot of us carry that will keep you invisible unless you address it is the fear of being too much, right? And I'm going to do a whole podcast on this next week. Fear of being too much, fear of being, quote, cringe, or being perceived as full of yourself, or being perceived as better than others, not humble. Basically, fear of standing out and being isolated in some way compared to other people. So when I say it like that, to me, and maybe it's because I've done this work, to me, it's like, well, good. I want to stand out because I understand the value of standing out, right? If you have their attention, you can have their sale. But I do understand that our reptilian brain still wants us, it's that pack mentality. I can't stand out from the pack because if I stand out from the pack and I get rejected, I die. If I get rejected, that means there is something deeply wrong about me. That's old reptilian brain that could be deeply, deeply subconsciously rooted in you still. All right. So the reframe here, my favorite quote around this personally is, if I'm too much, go find less, right? Like, to me, that needs to be all of like, if you have a business, if you have a personal brand, I think we all need to be adopting that vibe. Like, if you think I'm too much or too cringe or too whatever, go find less. And what I love about that is because it's not saying I'm wrong. It's just saying I'm too much for you. Like, I actually, yesterday I made this reel, and I've been talking about relationships lately because relationships greatly impact our businesses. You know, if you are in a relationship, that's going to impact you, which will impact your business, as many other things in your life. And I've been talking, and one of the things I've been saying is like, my husband adores me. And one thing that I said specifically, I said, there's never been a day that I feel like he wishes I was more or less of who I really am on my worst day. I've never felt too loud for him. I've never felt too crude for him. I've never felt too soft or too hard or too independent or too feminine or too I've never felt too anything or not enough of something else on my worst day. He can hold me, all of me. And our businesses can too, and your ideal clients can as well, but not everybody. So, like, back to the relationship example, there were men in my life that I was way too much for. Way too much. Like, if you are a woman who's ever been told to be quiet or shh, you're being too loud, like that, I will never forget, like, being in a restaurant, just like happy and talking and like telling a story, and the person I was with being like, hey, tone it down a little bit. Hey, shh. People, like, you don't have to be so loud. You don't have to. I remember a partner telling me one day, just be normal. I was like, huh? Come again? Like, bitch, normal. This is who I am. What do you mean? Be not me? Like that's what he was saying, because we weren't a match, right? So if you're too much for somebody, that's a them problem. If you're being who you are, that's a them problem. They can go find less, or it could go the other way too, right? Like, I'm a pretty bold person. I use foul language. I'm very loud. I'm like literally yelling into this mic right now. This is who I am. Okay. Where was I going with that? The opposite. Okay. I know where I was going with that. There are some of you listening who are not like me. Shocker. And thank God, right? There are a lot of you who are a lot more calm and a lot more composed and a lot more eloquent and a lot more graceful, right? You being bold for you doesn't mean bold for me, right? Like, there can be different shades of thing. Audacious, audacity doesn't necessarily mean loud and screaming and cursing and being too much. Sometimes it's being comfortable exactly as who you are. As a matter of fact, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. So for you, some people might think you're not enough. Some people might think, I wish her marketing was more, I wish it elicited more energy from me. I wish it made me feel more of something. Okay, well, go find more then. That's a them problem. So fear of being too much isn't necessarily like you're scared to be bigger. It's not like a more thing. It's just who you are. You can be you could chill in who you are, and that's too much or too little for somebody else. You just need to be you. You just need to be you. Okay? They're going to judge you anyway. You're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. We've heard all of the cliche, like, you could be the juiciest peach and not everybody likes peaches. True. That's it. 100%. Right? You could be Rocky Road ice cream and somebody is allergic to nuts. It has nothing to do with you. They just literally will die if they get into your world. Y'all aren't a match. It is what it is. But I have found, like, I love my lighthouse analogy here, which is like, the more that you are comfortable as who you are without the fear of being too much or too cringe or too anything, you just are. If that is authentic to you, your light, your magnetism will be at its peak. You don't have to yell to be seen. You don't have to scream or use, different language than you would normally use to stand out. The faster you get comfortable being all of who you are authentically, that is the most magnetic you will ever be. And the way that I think about it is everybody on the internet, they are ships passing in the night, looking for their port, looking. And as soon as you are who you are, they can see you. There's the lighthouse, and they can say, that's my girl, or nope, I'm going to go to the next one. But they don't know until you get over the fear of being too much of who you are. And then finally, the fear of success. Believe it or not, there are people out there, you might feel this way, who is scared of, what if I can't handle it? What if I'm successful and people want more from me? I can barely handle what I have on my plate right now. I can't handle more. Success equals more, and I'm already overwhelmed as it is. Or fear of success could look like, well, I already feel like I'm too much for my friends as it is. I already feel like I'm too much for my family as it is. If I become more successful, who will I lose if I continue to grow and I continue to evolve? Very real, very understandable. So here's what I want you to understand. Let's handle like the first one, right? What if I can't handle it? I'm already at capacity. I can't handle more. What you need to understand is there is no overnight success. Period. It may appear that way to other people. That's not a thing. Yes, can we quantum leap? Absolutely. That is a thing, but it's still going to be, it's not going to be overnight. All right. You're not going to be overwhelmed today and be like, I can't handle this. And then tomorrow you're going to have like 10 times the money or all the things. Like it's going to expand. I want you to think of it like a balloon that gets expanded. You don't go from an inflated balloon to a fully blown balloon like that. It expands over time. You grow into it. And trust and believe you will not skip levels with this. There's no such thing. Maybe in a sense, a bit of quantum leap. That's like an exception. We're not going to go there right now. Okay, just to keep this simple, you're going to grow into it. So when you reach your capacity, you're going to stop until you're ready to keep expanding. So this idea, what if I can't handle it? Okay, well, that's what we need to address right now. If you're feeling at capacity right now in your business, if you feel like you're already overwhelmed and you can't handle what you have, but you want more, well, then you need to handle your capacity issue right now. Let's address this. Do we have too many offers? We don't have enough support? What is the thing that's slowing you down? Because until you handle that and you fix your nervous system and you feel ready to expand again, you will keep yourself invisible. So this fear of what if I can't handle it, it's not, you don't need to worry about that. You will grow into it. That's like being, before able to swim, being afraid of what if I drown? Well, you're going to learn how to swim first. Don't jump in the pool now. That would be silly. But you're going to learn how to swim. And then this fear of drowning, this fear of success, it's not going to be a thing anymore. Because you've expanded your capacity, you've expanded your skills, you've expanded yourself as a human, therefore you can hold more. And then this fear of, well, who will I lose if I outgrow them? That will happen 100%. There are people in your life right now that will not be in your life in a year, in 10 years, hell, maybe even tomorrow. We don't know. But what I have found, and something that surprises me, is if I were to look backwards in the beginning of my business and somebody would say, hey, out of all the people in your life, who do you think will be here in 10 years when you're 10 times more successful? There might be some people that like I snap judge, like, no, they're not going to be able to handle me at that level, right? I'm judging them. But these are the people, like I said, who initially did judge. And then because they saw me fly, I, in a way, gave them permission to fly and showed them what it looked like to fly. So then they came to me for keys, or to ask for keys to their cage, which I just said, you actually have them. We all have our own keys to the cage. So my point in saying that is like, these people that you might be afraid of losing, they might surprise you. You, in a crazy turn of events, you might be the catalyst to their own freedom because you weren't afraid of their judgment or their rejection or their thought of you being too much, because you focused on your life, because you stayed in your lane, and because you dared to be fully you in spite of them or independent of any thoughts of them, because they have their life and you have your own. You gave them, you expanded them, you became an expander. It's really cool how that works. And then there will be people for sure that choose to not grow with you. And some will naturally just flow out of your life and then maybe come back around later. That happens all the time. Or flow out of your life and who knows? But it's their life and this is yours. So the way that I think about this is like I said the other day in my stories that I had a conversation with my mentor, and that this mentor was my 93-year-old version of myself. Like, I think that needs to be all of our mentors, one of them. Like, if you're not running some decisions by the old ass version of yourself, we're missing out on a lot of wisdom, because you can tap into that now. And I guarantee you, if you went to the 93-year-old version of yourself who, you know, is more brittle, you know, she's in the last chapter of her life, she's reflecting. If you came to her and you said, hey, should I have any fear around being too much and any fear around who I'm going to lose if I outgrow? I can guarantee you she'll say, absolutely fucking not. If it's meant to be, so be it. But this is your life. This is your one life. And it is your responsibility to do what it is that you actually want to do without fear and without concern of other people's lives and situations. This is yours. Okay. So these fears, like I said, we just have to normalize them. They're part of it. They're universal. They're not going anywhere. So any belief, again, that you are going to show up when they're gone, you're just never going to show up. And if you're cool with that, I'm cool with that. But if you're not, then you simply need to get comfortable walking with these fears, befriend them. They're part of the journey. Fear is proof that you are trying something new. If you don't feel fear around anything, well, that's what I would be scared of. I have fear of not feeling fear, because that means that I've gotten complacent. That tells me something. It's always going to be there. So I'm going to give you a couple of practices and then we're going to wrap this up. Okay. So if you're wanting to increase your visibility, we got to work on these fears. We got to look into these. Okay. So if any of those brought something up for you, do some work around it, journal on it. What are you so afraid of? How can we reframe it? And how can you stay conscious? And the next thing this comes up for you, you coach yourself and move through it anyway. And you do it. That's you increasing your capacity to be more seen by navigating the fears in that way. But a daily practice for you, if you really want to work on this even more than navigating the fears, is could you challenge yourself maybe for the next month, like maybe for the rest of October or however long you want to do some sort of visibility move every day. Maybe it's a bold post. Maybe it's a pitch. Maybe it's, you know, starting that podcast or whatever the thing is. Like, what is one move that you can make each day that it increases your visibility and your comfort level with being seen, heard, and found and known for what it is that you do? And then a little mantra that I have for you to support you in being more audacious in who you are and what it is that you do. A mantra is, I am safe being seen. I am paid for being bold. I am safe being seen. I am paid for being bold. Okay? So let's land this. Playing small, like we've covered, is costing you money, opportunities, and influence. But underneath it all, it's all fear. That's it. It's all fear that's holding you back. And while fear feels protective in the moment, and that is what it is. It's there to protect you. What it's really doing is keeping you invisible and underpaid. The truth is, you do not need to wait until you feel fearless to show up. You build visibility like a muscle, one bold, audacious move at a time. And the sooner that you start flexing that muscle, the sooner that you start showing up and practicing being seen, the faster your income, impact, and authority will grow and meet you. So next week, like I said, we're going to talk about the energy of being, quote, too much. We're going to go deeper into that because that's a big one. And Audacity as a business strategy, and why what you've been taught to tone down is actually the thing that will skyrocket your business. Okay. So if there is something that you've gotten consistent feedback on, like, hey, you're literally too loud, or you're too crude, or you're too out there, you're too sexy, you're too whatever, you're too quiet, you're too calm, that's the thing. All right. So we're going to talk about that next week. Definitely show up. And if this episode hit home for you, please come and connect with me on Instagram at Allie I. Reeves. And if you enjoyed this, it would be amazing if you screenshot it and shared it to your stories to help our other girlies out there who are also looking for this message. We are in this together. Okay. So until next time, I love you, and I'll see you next week. Bye.